And now, once again, Richard Thomas.
The celebration of New Year's is traditionally represented by two figures, Father Time and a bouncing baby, the old ushering in the new. And there's always great interest in the first baby born after midnight, but short of a C-section scheduled for 12:01, there's no way to predict whose child will earn that distinction. Well, we've found a baby New Year's story that rivals any you've heard before, and there was absolutely no way to predict the miraculous events that would bring this child into the world on New Year's Day, 1999. A few days before Christmas, 1998, Monica Dradi paid a visit to her gynecologist. She was 7.5 months pregnant with her second child, a boy, when her doctor discovered a small complication.
He's still transverse.
He was sideways, and I asked her, is that a problem? She said, oh no, because he still have 5 weeks to go. He'll turn by then.
There is a possibility of breach, but I'm not real concerned about that. What I am concerned about is your blood pressure.
Monica's blood pressure was also higher than normal, and so, to be on the safe side, they arranged for another appointment in 3 weeks' time.
Love you.
On New Year's Eve,
Bye.
Monica left her mother's home to drive to her father's beach house 45 miles away. It was 11:30 p.m., half an hour before 1999.
I hadn't been gone but less than 5 minutes. And I got just a little cramp, which didn't alarm me because I thought, well, maybe I got in this car wrong. I pulled something, twisted something.
Oh, oh.
It was about a minute or two later when I got a real sharp one that just felt like someone took a knife and was sticking it in my side. I thought, okay, now I know I'm in trouble, and then my water broke. I started having really, really sharp pains. I'd have a cramp and I'd have to let off the brake. I had a hard time keeping the vehicle on the road. The closest hospital was really not that far away. It was about a 10 to 15-minute ride.
Oh.
But after driving a mile, I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it. And I was really scared I was going to have to pull over on the side of the road. I wanted to be able to get my clothes off, just in case I needed to try to do this myself.
Oh.
But Monica kept on driving, hoping she'd find an open business or public telephone.
Oh no.
But there wasn't any help to be found, and the painful contractions were getting worse.
I kept praying and praying, somebody to please help me. I wasn't praying for me, I was just praying to please let my baby be okay.
At that moment, Monica came upon a road leading into a residential neighborhood. Knowing this could be her only chance for help, she turned in.
Oh.
She drove past several homes and into a cul-de-sac before finally stopping her car. Her first instinct was to head to the nearest house with its lights on.
And something told me, don't go there. Go to the house over on the other side.
It was the farthest house away that Monica was being pulled toward it.
Help! Help! Please! Help me!
67-year-old Joyce Ware was awakened by the doorbell.
It was just like somebody pushed it and wouldn't let go.
Help me! Open the door!
I could hear someone crying. It was a woman, obviously. And I thought, oh my God.
Please! Call 911! Help me!
I was beating hard on that door, screaming, and I heard a male's voice saying, don't open the door.
Don't throw it down there. Leave it alone.
Joyce's husband, George Ware, wasn't taking any chances.
I want to find out who was at my door. And reading the news today, people use all kinds of tricks to get through your door.
But Joyce was too intent to even hear her husband's warning.
Please, call 911!
I heard her say,
I'm having a baby!
and I thought, oh my. So I get the door open as quickly as I can.
Oh, please help me, I'm having a baby!
So I put my arms around her and I said, it's okay, it's okay. I have a daughter here who's a nurse and she's worked in the delivery room.
Diane! I'm coming.
Monica had somehow been guided to a registered nurse, well trained in the delivery of babies. Diane Minter quickly tried to evaluate the situation.
At that point, I knew she was pregnant. I didn't know why she was hysterical, why she needed help. She hadn't vocalized why at that point. And she had a contraction. She said, it's coming. She was adamant it was coming.
The dramatic conclusion, when it's a miracle, continues. While driving to her father's beach house, late New Year's Eve, 1998, Monica Dradi went into premature labor. The pains quickly became so unbearable that she had no choice but to stop and find help. And then, as she started to approach a home with all its lights on, something told her to go in the opposite direction. And miraculously, she ended up at a house where a registered nurse was staying. But the real miracle that night was yet to happen.
I asked her, when are you due? And she said, I'm not due until the middle of February. And she said, and my first baby weighed under 5 pounds.
I need you to call 911 now.
I told my mom, let them know we have an emergency and I need a paramedic and oxygen.
In the meantime, Diane took charge of the situation.
Dad, sheets now. Oh, yeah.
George Ware raced upstairs at her command and pulled the sheets out from under Diane's husband, Clyde.
Hey, gotta have those sheets.
I think he was so dazed that he didn't realize that he had to raise up for me to get to see that. I just jerked it out from one.
Did your water break?
Yes.
When did it break?
In the car.
Okay.
Here's the sheets.
They're dirty. They're dirty.
Oh, in the linen closet.
I told him, I need clean sheets. So my mom went with him and got some towels and sheets out of the closet.
By this time, everyone in the house had been awakened by all the commotion and tried to help in any way they could.
My brother-in-law was here, who used to be an EMT. They're taught to handle an emergency and do the immediate to stabilize the patient until you can get them to the hospital. So he took over at the head.
Don't push.
I'm thirsty.
Okay.
Monica said, I've got to have something to drink. So immediately everybody runs. I said, no, she can't not have anything to drink.
Don't get her water. No water, just ice chips, okay? I'm gonna get your pants off here and get the sheet on you, okay?
Then she told me, I have a terrible headache. Can I have some Tylenol? And I said, no, you can't have any medication. And I said, have you had problems with your blood pressure? And she told me her blood pressure had been up.
Talk to me. What do you know about this baby?
He's sideways.
Sideways.
Yes.
Did the doctor tell you that?
Diane was caught off guard by this latest complication.
Even in the hospital, it's not a good scenario. With the high blood pressure, the baby being preterm, and now we're looking at possibly breech. We could have lost both of them, both mom and the baby, at that high risk of a pregnancy.
Focus with me. Oh, I need you to not push, okay?
I, of course, got a little nervous, but I said to myself, God did not send her here for this baby to die. It's just not going to happen.
Try and concentrate on being calm.
Okay.
Follow me.
The important thing that I kept telling her is you have to listen to me. You can't focus on what's going on around you, and you have to do everything I tell you to do for the baby to be okay.
You need to not have this baby here, okay? We need to get you to the hospital.
At that point, I didn't have any gloves, so there was no way to check how far up the baby was or if it was actually coming. It was not crowning. I couldn't see the head.
Doing fine. Okay.
At that moment, an emergency paramedic team arrived on the scene.
Don't push. They're on their way.
The paramedics rushed inside, but were not prepared for what they found.
A young gentleman, I dare say he was 18, came in.
She has a history of high blood pressure. Sideways.
The young guy was really nervous. He ripped 3 pairs of gloves, trying to put them
We're gonna
on.
need some oxygen too, okay? Do you want to just give me a pair?
I said, if you give me a pair of gloves, I'll help you. I'm a nurse and I used to work labor and delivery. And he's gladly.
After a closer inspection, Diane determined it would be okay to transport Monica to the hospital.
Oh, I think it's coming.
But when Monica was moved onto the stretcher, her baby made his move as well.
We're gonna have to have this baby here. Can you give me a...
Baby turned and immediately moved into position to deliver. And so I told him at that point, forget it, she can't make it, I need a delivery kit.
Breathe in that oxygen. I need you to concentrate first. The head's coming, okay?
I was afraid that she would tear and bleed with her blood pressure being that high. So I wanted it to be really slow.
Okay. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Push. I'm coming. He's coming.
The baby's head came out, the cord was around the neck, and it was loose, so I was able to easily take the cord off the neck.
Need scissors, please.
Why can't I hear him? He's not crying.
We're taking care of it.
The baby delivered was blue, and he was just limp.
Will he be all right?
Yes.
And I kept telling her everything's fine, I have to suction him first.
You need to get some oxygen down here on the baby.
I suctioned him, and then we put some oxygen on him and got a faint cry. It was probably 20 degrees outside, and I knew when that baby hit that air that his temperature was going to drop. With even a normal child, it's a high risk of them getting hypothermia. So we put him up on top of her, and we piled blankets on him. So I told her, you just hug him up and keep all those blankets on him.
At that point, mother and child were finally ready to be loaded into the waiting ambulance.
Come with me.
I can't.
I want you to come with me, please.
I begged Diane to come with me. And she says, no, you're fine. You don't need me anymore. I said, yes, I do. Please, just ride to the hospital with me. I was kind of afraid to leave this house.
Monica was rushed to Southern Maryland Hospital, where doctors stabilized both her and her newborn son, Jacob.
We get to the hospital, and I heard the nurse say, take her to labor and delivery. And then Jake started crying, and she stops and turns around. She says, do you have a baby with you? I said, I have a baby under my shirt.
Yay, very good.
Today, Jacob Campbell is a healthy, happy child and a constant source of joy for his mother and older sister, Amanda. While it's doubtful he's aware of the events surrounding his birth that New Year's Eve, Monica will never forget. She will always be grateful to Diane and her family and to the miracle that guided her into their care.
Every time I look at Jacob, I think of them. I think about how lucky I am to have him today. There's not a doubt in my mind that if I didn't come to this house and get these wonderful people to help me, I don't think I'd have Jacob today.
If it had been born on the road that night, I don't think the baby would have lived. And I'm not even sure about Monica. I think it was just a miraculous thing that she turned off of a road, came into a neighborhood, came into a cul-de-sac, parked in front of my neighbor's house, and came to my house. It was a miracle. Chances don't happen like that.
I don't know what brought her here. I don't know whether angels guided her here, and I do believe in angels, but she came here because God sent her here. Who else would have had a nurse and an EMT in their house on New Year's Eve, sober, just standing by, waiting for her to drop in? There's no other way to describe it but a miracle.
It's been 16 months since Jacob Campbell was born, and we want to check up on how he's doing. So joining us now are his mother and sister Amanda from the Ware family home in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Hey, everybody.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing much better after seeing that incredible story. But tell me, if you had it to do all over again, would you have chosen doctors and nurses over the Ware family?
Well, Richard, I think that the whole family was just absolutely wonderful. These I couldn't have asked for better help from anywhere. I think I had the best care that I could possibly get right here where I was. Right here laying on that floor. They were just terrific.
Well, what do you have to say to that, Diane?
I think that God put some special people together, and without him, Jacob wouldn't be here. And Jacob's definitely a special little boy. He came through a lot. So a lot of kids wouldn't have made it, so he's tough. Don't pull her hair.
Her hair out, Jake.
Yeah, well, no. I can see that, and it looks like Amanda can feel it. How do you feel having a little brother?
I think Jacob's really sweet, and he's really cute, and stop pinching me.
I think you're off to a pretty typical brother-sister relationship. Of course, the big question here, Monica, is why? Of all the houses you could have chosen, did you pick Diane's?
That has to be God sent me here. There would be no other reason why I would have chose this house. I just kept praying and asking for some kind of direction. Help me, please. And this is the door I ended up at. As you can see, there are several other doors that I could have went to. Something just told me to come here. And I'm thankful. Every time I look at him, I think about it, how lucky I am to have him.
Well, this is truly a story with a very happy ending, and I want to thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you, Richard.